Hey guys, today I'm doing my own tier list for PvE for all the SSR in the game. So how did I do this? I went into the test server today and I completed all the PvE that was available in the game. So 3-star in all the farming stages for the shell, as well as, oh wait, I didn't get 3-star here. Could got better one. So 3-star for the model farming, potentially 3-star for the shell farming. I also completed the Ember track as well, and I also did the Ethernet rally. However, I did not go further because it took way too much time and it was very repetitive, but I got the gist of this module as well. And I also trying to get a good union bonds run in, but unfortunately in the test server we cannot progress further because nobody's really playing in here. So I try my best to play in all the PvE that I could play with all the SSR available in the game. So I did multiple run of the same bosses. I run up all the SSR so I can assess them properly. Even though this is end game gear, but I believe we're gonna get there. All of us gonna get here eventually. So with that, we are going to do my own tier list for PvE for all the SSR. We are also doing the same tier list for the SR character tomorrow, so that should be very fun because I've been geeking out in the test server and it is amazing to play with all the character and to explore all the possible team combination for all these amazing character. First, we have Beyontin. So this girl buff attack and crit damage. She also reduced cooldown, and she is a very solid character for speed team in the end game for some of the farming dungeon because she can buff your damage dealer and she can allow your damage dealer to go again and reduce the damage dealer cooldown. So she's gonna pair really well with things like Victor or Dieting, I don't know how to read this guy's name. Very good. But in the early game, I don't think she's gonna be super popular for most players out there because she doesn't provide any defensive utility beside the revive that you might not really need early on. So I'm gonna put her into the A tier because when you get to the point where she can really shine, then she feels like a budget Lily for speed clear dungeon team, and I think she's gonna be a very sought after unit for like endgame player or whales who reach endgame a little bit earlier. Next up, Borgne. So this guy doesn't really have a lot of utility. His damage is not like super crazy. It can get really high, but there's a ceiling because he cannot crit. And without the crazy utility like turn meter reduction or debuff, he's not going to be ranked very high for PvE. But for PvP, I think he's going to be a very good bruiser. But for PvE, I'm going to put this guy into a C tier. And that might upset some people out there, but this is my tier list, okay? It's going to be very biased, very opinionated. If you really like Borgne in PvE, by all means, have fun with the guy. But after trying him out, I don't think he's going to be a super great damage dealer. Like, he does AoE damage. There are many great characters in the game that can do AoE damage. He's not super special in that regards. Celince. So Celince is an AoE anti-passive character. And through my run in the entire PvP offering of the game, there wasn't much that was passive heavy, or there wasn't any crazy passive at all. But I can believe in the future when they release, let's say, a PvE stage where they all have very strong passive, or when you're doing PvP where the defense team or the enemy team have very strong passive, she is gonna be the one. But for now, I'm gonna put her into the C tier because I would not put her into my team. She feels like a liability than actually providing anything crazy. DokiDoki, amazing cooldown reduction unit, amazing turn meter support, very good to boost your healer, your damage dealer, giving them more turn. And in a turn-based game, more turn means cooldown reduction, means more damage, more healing out of your team, and she can fit into any team because any team would love to have more turn meter and more cooldown reduction. So I'm gonna put DokiDoki into the S tier. A lot of you guys might be building her very fast because you think, wow, she's gonna go first and boost my team. But that is not really correct because you can easily make your team outspeed PvE. So you should build her a bit slower so that your entire team move, and then you utilize her skill to give your entire team another turn to move again. For example, if you have a very fast Marvel, okay, your Marvel slow the enemy team down, and then your entire team can move now. Even though your entire team might not be very fast, your entire team move, they are slowed down, and then DokiDoki move. Your entire team move again very easily with less cooldown, and you can do your whole combo again. If your DokiDoki go first, you don't enjoy her cooldown reduction ability, and because your team is moving anyway, you don't need the turn meter boost by DokiDoki. So actually, in PvE, if you can, make her slower than the rest of the team to maximize her turn meter boost and cooldown reduction. Freya, she's gonna be the first banner of the game, and I really think that she's gonna be like a Gunabait-ish kind of character. She's designed to be very sexy, and she's designed to have a lot of things in her kit, but when you actually play with her a lot, she doesn't do like a whole lot. Like, I wouldn't mind having her in the team, but I wouldn't mind missing her from the team as well. So I'm gonna put Freya in the solid B tier. Like, it's great to have, but it's not bad to not have. That kind of feeling. Heinrich, this guy is S tier for farming team because in the Inferno stage, 2 bosses have immunity turn 1, so you need a strip turn 1. You can do that via other unit like Viper or Mia or many other strip in the game. However, Heinrich's skill 3, after he strip, he also provide a debuff that allow your team to crit easier and provide more crit damage. So not only he strip for you, which is one of the most important utility in the Inferno stage, he make your team hit harder so that your Victor, your Dieting, your Lian, your Grey, your Rilmocha is gonna hit even harder than before and crit easier, which is very, very important. So he's gonna be S tier for dungeon team. In the other content like Ember Track, he wasn't like super crazy. I don't think you need strip for the most part in there, but for the end game speed dungeon team that you're gonna be farming every day, that all the whales will need that to clear the stamina faster, he's gonna be one of the most important character if you happen to pull him. So 2 light dark in the top. Not surprised, but anyway. Helkid. Helkid is kind of like Tiamat, but he's scaled with attack. So if they can strip your buff, then he's going to be a very squishy Tiamat. So I think Helkid is going to be in the A or B tier kind of, because he does provide some useful debuff and he does provide a very good buff, which is immunity, which is very rare in the early stage of the game. Even though you can have LingLuo, but it's better to have 2. And Helkid is also going to be doing some decent amount of damage because you're going to build Helkid on attack because the shield scale with attack. It'd be great if the shield scale with HP or something, but it's scale with attack. I think I'm going to put Helkid into A tier because he's a very solid support unit that can keep your team alive. Unlike Freya. Freya buff your team with defense, but there's no shield or healing. So when you run Helkid, you might be able to take away the healer, so you can have more damage in certain stage that you don't need healing, that you can clear it faster, which is always better than sitting there and do a stage for much longer with a healer slot on your team. So with Helkid, you can potentially take out a healer and maybe put in Tiamat and have healing over time and have more utility in the team. So Helkid's going to be in the A tier. Khloros. So this guy is a strong red single target damage dealer that has anti-revive. Not super important in PvE, and the single target damage slot right now belong to either Victor or Dieting, and they are like the purple, dark, black element, whatever you want to call it. Then they can be used in almost everything. This guy cannot be used against the blue element, so that is a problem. And I didn't really need him anywhere. He was kind of okay in Union Boss. I think a lot of people were using him because Union Boss, there's only 1 character in the enemy field, so he is or was a very decent damage dealer in the Union Boss. But then he wasn't needed in any of the other thing. You can also use him in Terramaton. You can also try to use him in Aurora, but I felt like I didn't really need to use him, and there are so many other SR characters that can also be good. And in the early game, you're watching this, you're probably in the early game, okay? The game's launching very soon, so none of you guys who are watching this is going to be like super end game where you can invest in a character that doesn't do a whole lot. I would love for you guys to invest into character that can perform in multiple areas of the game to minimize the investment and maximize whatever you can invest into like 2 or 3 SSR and make them really, really good. And this guy is not one of them. So I want to put him into the C tier now because he is good to use against single boss situation. So Union Boss, Terramaton, Aurora, if you really like the design, You fuck with the design so much. You like the coolness of the guy, and he's usable in Terramaton. You want to use him. You reset Lian, for example, when you're done with her. Then you can put it all into him with all the red outpost material that you farm for Lian. You can put into him. Maybe that's gonna be the Khloros use case, but I didn't really enjoy him that much. Kloss. So Kloss is an AoE debuff character. Very good at her job. She has turn meter stealing as well, and her hack-in debuff stay there for very, very long and allow your AoE damage dealer to do big AoE damage. And against bosses that require to be in the stage for a long time, her debuff build up over time and it become very, very strong. And with AoE defense break, you can perform AoE damage in other dungeon like DokiDoki, for example, or she can provide defense break or Terramaton run as well, or the Shell dungeon. She can be a very useful character, but she doesn't have a hard CC. So remember that. Hard CC, by that I mean stun, freeze, or sleep, where the enemy will not attack you during that turn. If you use her, they will still have a chance to attack you, and that can be quite detrimental in some stages. But I think overall she is a very solid AoE debuff character, and you need or love AoE debuff character in your run across multiple PvE content of the game. Oh, I forgot about Hoyan. So Hoyan was not available in the final test. I think she was withdrawn, and then she's gonna be re-released in the global launch, and she's a very strong single target damage dealer that is amazing for PvP. For PvE, I am not super sure about her use case, so I think it's gonna be similar to Khloros, where you can use her, but you don't have to use her. Lian, the free character that everyone kind of have to build anyway. I think she's gonna be okay for Terramaton. She's gonna be okay for Amber Track. She's gonna be okay for anything that is not blue. She has okay-ish utility. Her damage potential is not super crazy good. I think she's gonna be like Freya, solid B. All right, I wouldn't really enjoy using her in the super end game, but because everyone has to build her, I think she's okay to be used. But I feel like she could go a bit higher, because if you don't reset her with the event, you can still use her in Terramaton, you can still use her in other content of the game. You know what, I want to bump Lian to A tier, because using her is actually not that bad. Great AoE damage, that is red. And if you think about it, there are not many other good AoE red damage dealer, so she's gonna be in there until they release like a super crazy red AoE damage dealer, because Dinah is a AoE red support character that provide AoE defense break that allow your AoE damage like Lian to crush the enemy. So I think Lian's gonna be A tier for that one. Lily, oh my god, Lily is in almost every speed team for endgame, because Lily allows you to boost crit damage with her buff and allow your team or that one unit that she put a twin trick on to reset the cooldown. So certain unit like Victor or Massiah or Dieting or even Lian or Rosa can do their ultimate again. She allowed the big hitter to do the ult again. And in the early game without the crazy shell that is called the Codex of Magic, where you can ult again, ability to allow you to ult again in PvE is incredible. And she increased cooldown time, which is, I don't think that is available in other unit right now in the game. She's probably the only one that has AoE increased cooldown time on the enemy team. And that is really, really incredible, because you can combo that along with stun, along with slow debuff. And that is really, really good, because you are stacking up control on the enemy team. And because the enemy in PvE don't have shelf, they don't have that insane cooldown reduction or self-cleanse like player do, the amount of control you can do with Lily or the double ult for damage dealer is really, really strong. LingLuo, she is gonna be free for everybody after playing the game for 7 days and doing the quest. That's going to be very simple. She is, and I think I have to say this, she is the best healer for all PvE. Like, if you need a healer, you put her in. When you start the game, you're gonna be given Dorothy, who's gonna carry you in the early game. You don't really need crazy healing there. And you're gonna probably summon Sania, for example, or the fire or red Chiaki. That's gonna give you a bit more healing. But LingLuo is on another level, because LingLuo provide healing, immunity, cleansing, healing over time, and extend buff. That is so many utility in one single character. And whenever I need healing, I'm gonna be using LingLuo. And the best part, she's free. So she's gonna be an S tier. Marvel, I'm just kidding. Marvel is an SR character. He's just that good. Lilith. So Lilith has AoE slow and what I would call a bomb debuff, but in this game they call it the graceful mischief. So you can detonate that debuff to deal bomb damage, to deal true damage, scale with her HP. She is going to be a very strong HP bruiser with utility for PvP because she can slow the enemy down. But in PvE, her damage output is gonna be very lackluster and her control is not super good. If you need AoE stun, for example, Kraken is gonna be there to do the job for you very, very well. So you probably don't need her because when you put her in, you don't really fulfill any crazy role like extra control or extra damage. If you run any slow debuff unit, you're gonna probably forget about her. But let's say you don't have Marvel and you really want the juicy slow debuff AoE. You don't have Marvel, you don't have Rosa, you don't have none of that. Then you can probably use her. I would think she's gonna be fit into the B tier because using her feels okay, but not using her feels okay as well. Massiah, AoE massive big daddy damage. Do you need that in PvE? At some point, the enemy will have a couple 100,000 HP. The HP inflation situation in Etheria Restart is real, guys. But the HP of the enemy target will make Massiah damage looks kind of tiny, not crazy. After a while, early game, you might feel like, damn, my Massiah is clapping cheeks. But after a while, not so much. And he doesn't bring good utility to control the enemy team in PvE. So I'm gonna put him into the A tier because you can still use Massiah to speedrun DokiDoki with a very strong damage set. He can still one-shot the wave of DokiDoki, and with the right team, you might use his ult back-to-back and double shot the entire dungeon. It's really insane. But early game, he's gonna do some crazy damage. He's the first banner. A lot of people are gonna have this guy. He does great AoE damage. We cannot deny that. So you combo Massiah with Lian. You have 2 strong AoE damage, and you just bring the right support, and you're gonna clear a lot of PvE very quickly. It's gonna feel very satisfying to play. Mia is an AoE strip and AoE heal. So how I use Mia is I use her to strip the enemy immunity in the Inferno of Tiamat and the Inferno of Aurora. You don't need her in the other PvE part of the game because the healing, I think, can be done so much better with LingLuo, and the cooldown reduction is great, but not super crazy good. And you don't need a strip in PvE that much outside of Inferno stages. So I'm gonna put Mia into the B tier for now because if you need a strip, there's always going to be Viper. There's other character in the game. She does have very good AI for strips, so it's gonna be good for auto run. Only if you're outspeeding the dungeon. So at Inferno stage, after testing, I think you require to have like plus 175 speed on her so that she can outspeed the dungeon. If they outspeed you and attack you and you lose health, she will use the healing skill instead of the stripping skill. And you don't really want that. You want to strip the immunity and start hitting the boss. But she will heal, which will make your run fail because she might be your only buff stripper. So it's a little bit tricky right there. You need her to be like kind of fast to be really good in a dungeon. So I'm gonna put it into the B tier because stripping is not super unique and there are many other character units that can do that. If you have them to have Heinrich, you're probably not gonna care about Mia at all. Rahu. Alright, this guy, I have no idea how to actually make him good in PvE. Like, you don't need him for any shell dungeon. You don't need him for any module dungeon. You don't need him for any ember track. He's a very good bruiser for a long fight in PvP though. There's nothing wrong with that. He does AoE defense buff, but then the way you build him, he's not going to be fast to cycle the defense buff to protect your team. I mean, he doesn't really do anything else to protect your team anyway. Unlike Tiamat, who can provoke the enemy, he doesn't do a whole lot for you. So I'm going to put him into the D tier for PvE, okay? For PvP, he's probably going to go a bit higher. Rilmocha. Rilmocha will be one of the best, if not the best unit for DokiDoki team, which is one of the most important dungeon for every single player out there. She can allow you to speedrun DokiDoki dungeon in the end game, and overall just a great unit for DokiDoki. Other than that, she's not super good in Tiamat. She can be okay in there, but her specialty is crazy AoE damage, and Tiamat there's only one boss to kill, And you don't really need her in Ember Track or other content of the game because her main strength is AoE damage. And it'll be better if she can kill the target that she's hitting with skill 3. And in Ember Track, where the enemy get to like 500k HP or whatever, she will not do that. So she's gonna be A tier for me because I feel like her best spot is in DokiDoki team, and only that spot. Even though she's really, really good in there. She's gonna be good for Arena as well, but that's PvP, okay? We're gonna have a separate tier list for that. PvE, purely PvE, I think she's gonna be A tier because she is just so good in DokiDoki. Rosa. Okay, I'm gonna be biased here. This is a very biased, this is already a biased tier list, but this is a very biased thing. I fucking love Rosa so much because I can use Rosa in so many things except Tiamat because that thing is green or yellow. Green. You can use this thing in Doki, in Aurora, in all the Shell Dungeon, in all the I almost use her in every single Ember Trap because she provides turn meter control. And because you can buff crit for the entire team, she can team up with other unit very, very frequently and reduce turn meter even further on the enemy target. And if they don't move, they don't hurt you. They don't do anything to you. And she does very solid damage as well. And she's just fucking beautiful. Maybe that's like half the reason. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe that's like half the reason right there. I might put her into the S tier. Oh my god. Is she S tier though? Nah. I can't do that. That is so biased. But hey, this is my fucking tier list. I think to be fair, she might be A tier. But after playing with so many units in the test server for like a couple days, I can use it everywhere. I am addicted to Rosa. But because she needs to crit and her teammate need to crit as well, endgame will look so much better for her because you can crit all the time with her. But then if you don't crit, then she's not that cool. So maybe I'm gonna put her down to the A tier. But in my heart, she's S tier, okay? She's S tier. Tiamat is a solid A tier for me. But Tiamat is like S tier early game. Okay? Tanky, heal, protection, damage, pretty much everything she can do. Alright? Pretty much everything. But her values slowly go all the way down to like, I would say B+, A- kind of vibe. Because you don't do that much damage anymore after some point. You don't heal enough because you have LingLuo. All right, if I have LingLuo to be my dedicated healer, my other unit can provide other utility. I don't need like a heal over time shield situation. I don't really need that. It'd be great to have, but I don't really need that. And then the damage is okay. The taunt, if you are starting to build things like Kraken, you don't need to have taunt over freeze, for example. It's not very needed. So her value fall to like A-, B+. But I feel like she's going to be relevant to early mid-game player for quite a long time. So I'm going to bump her to like A tier. Okay. But the more you go into the end game PvE, the more she fall to like B tier, where you're probably going to use an Ember Track and Ethernet Rally. And she's going to feel okay in there. But you wouldn't really care if you put in other unit. You don't really need her there that badly. Like, it's fine without her. But then, I'm gonna put her into the A tier because if you're watching this, you're not probably at the end game, okay? Shadow Sania. Okay, Shadow Sania is a very team-dependent unit. If you don't have Fangers or Oboe, you probably will never build her, all right? If you don't have Fangers or Oboe, you don't pull the dot guy, so it's gonna be the guy that has like snake eyes, you know, Widowmaker, but male. And then we have Oboe, the Navy Admiral guy. If you don't have those characters, she's D tier. Because on her own, not a huge fan. You need AoE Dawn to stack up a whole lot. And then she go kaboom, and then they all blow up, and then the entire enemy team die. Very cool. But if you have those characters, and you like the Dark playstyle, and you happen to maybe even have Doki or Lily to reset your AoE Dawn character to double ult, then she'll be bumped to like A tier. If you have Lily, Oboe, Fangers, and your gear is really good, she can be end game speed run for like Aurora or even Tiamat. You could strip and then you put dots on them and then you blow them up. The boss die in like 40 seconds. Very good run. She's also really good for the stages in between the boss stages in Ember Track. So what I'm talking about is the stage where you don't fight the boss that is immune to dots. In Ember Track, there's going to be like the mini boss, and then it's going to be the Big Daddy boss. Big Daddy boss will be immune to dots, but mini boss like these, they are not immune to dots. Okay, you can actually put dot on them and they die very, very quickly to dots. Like just dot them, blow it up, and they all die. And it'll save you so much time and mental health to clear these very, very quickly. So that's what I did. And it was very, very fun. So it really depends on, do you want to play dots? Do you have the right unit like Oboe, Fingers, and then a cooldown reduction unit? If you don't, she's D tier. You probably never want to use her. But if you do, she might go anywhere from A to S. Not gonna lie. Okay? It can be very fun to play with Dot. Dot playstyle is something that I personally love for my previous game Summoners War. I freaking love Dot. So once again, this is gonna be a little bit biased, but I'm gonna put her into the A tier. Okay? Because she's a little bit team dependent. If she can be a bit more independent, an independent woman, then I'm gonna bump her to the S tier. But now, not so much. And I feel like for these kind of game, they will just have to come out with things that's immune to dot, because dot trivialized a lot of harder mechanic in the game, because you can just like dot them, shadow Sania, blow them up, and it's over like immediately. There's no challenge, there's no brain in there, there's no RNG, and the dev team don't like that. I'm pretty sure if everything is all about dot, they will hate it, and they would make new things immune to dot, and then her stock is gonna go all the way to fucking D tier. But for now, I think she's gonna be in the A tier for PvE. Tsukiyo. So this girl is like Freya, I feel, but with cooldown reduction for the team. Very, very cool unit. But she also doesn't really have a lot of like protection, utility, no shield, no healing over time. Kind of lame, not gonna lie. But for speed clearing, she can be very, very good. So I'm gonna put her into the B tier for now. Okay, I think early game, a lot of you guys would not be investing into this character because you don't need to go super aggressive. She's a very aggressive support unit, and in the early game, being aggressive is not going to be a thing. It's not going to be easy to be aggressive unless your wallet has no limit to them, and you have every other unit. Your gear farming is going to be crazy. You have team building available to you. Then you can build her. But then if you don't, then I don't think you need to invest into her. You need to invest into things that work in multiple areas like LingLuo, Helkid, Tiamat, Rosa, for example. And by that logic, you know what? I might have to put Beyontin down a little bit. Wow, do I? But then her utility is like so good though. I want to knock Beyontin to like B tier. Follow the same logic as Tsukiyo. Shit. Oh my god. But I think I have to do that. Veronika. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Alright. For PvE, not gonna lie, she's kind of a C tier situation over here. She almost reached the multi-purpose tier, that is Tiamat or Helkid, but then her strip got nerfed to be not as good, and you don't need to strip a whole lot in PvE, and because her base speed is slow, building her to be faster than your team to strip in PvE is not going to be as easy. And her AoE damage is not as good. The shield is okay, but I think Tiamat is just a way better unit than Veronika for general PvE. I think she's going to shine in PvP where you have to face Tiamat, Helkid, LingLuo. If you can steal those buffs, it is magical. It's so good for your entire team. But for PvE, where you don't need that thing right there, I think Veronika is going to be in a C tier for PvE. Okay, you don't need Veronika for PvE. But having Tiamat or Helkid, I think is going to be so much better. Even though they feel kind of similar, but she's not there. And lastly, we have the Fox Lady, Xiada. So Xiada is a very decent blue damage dealer, which means she can be okay in DokiDoki, she can be okay in Aurora, but she need to stack up to get strong. So for speedrun, we don't have time for that. So for speedrun, she's not going to be good because you don't have time to stack up for her. You want to kill as quickly as possible. Things like Victor can just chop the boss immediately in the first turn. Very, very good. But overall, I think her utility is going to be similar to Lian as an AoE damage that can provide some sort of extra utility. Her buff stealing in skill 1 is also not super useful. and her AoE defense break can be okay. You know what? Because she can provide her own AoE defense break. And there will be boss stages where it's gonna take a while for you to actually beat the boss so she can stack up properly. So I think she's gonna be greater in runs where it would take a while to finish. So I think as a self-sufficient damage dealer with decent amount of utility, I'm gonna put her into the A tier. And I think in the long run, in the end game, she might be a better blue AoE damage dealer than Tiamat, because Tiamat is not a raw damage dealer anyway. So here is my tier list. Do I agree with myself after doing this exercise? Yeah, I'm pretty good with that. All right, guys, that's going to be my PvE tier list for SSR. I'll be doing an SR PvE tier list tomorrow. And hope you guys enjoyed this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.